Well, greetings, BookTube. Happy Friday from wherever you are joining. I welcome you to the History Shelf. I am your host, Peg. How you doing out there today? Well, today's video is a very targeted video and a very sad one for me. It's the end of an era. Frequently in the past on this channel, I've done book updates as far as what new books I've gotten from the History Book Club, which for many years, decades, has been a pretty prominent, I guess you call it like a book club by mail, which frankly, they have died. They have died with the advent of e-readers, digital copies, streaming service, audiobooks, all of that good stuff. They have gone the way of the dodo, except for Book of the Month Club, which kind of rejiggered themselves, repackaged themselves, and now you get a book from Book of the Month Club and it's got a big brand on it. It says this is, and it's a Book of the Month Club edition, so it's not even a full. It's like a ripoff version of the first edition, but hey, that's how they do it. Yeah, guys, what can I say? This happened a few months ago, and I went to my History Book Club website to see, and it would allot you credits, $17.50 for a credit, and that could get you a brand new book. And we're not talking a rip-off version. We're talking first editions, not book club editions. Well, then I saw a message on there that said, starting this date, and I think it was for the end of June. Yeah, end of June. They're like, you can no longer shop at History Book Club. And it gave me this weird message. And I'll see if I can pop it in here, but it's just gone. History Book Club is no more. And I had a moment where I was just like, my affiliation with History Book Club, and conversely, its sister book club, Military Book Club, which that died a few years ago, and History Book Club hung around. I have gotten at least 40 years worth of books and learning through History Book Club and Military Book Club. And I just wanted to have a moment to reflect on that. Also, I wanted to share with you the final books, the last books that I've gotten through History Book Club. These are the final ones. I used up all my credits over the last few months. And here are my finals. And I'm going to show you what they are. These are books from this year, pretty much, except maybe a couple here that are from last year. There might be a few here that are from last year, but they're still relatively new books. But yeah, my affiliation with History Book Club began probably in the 80s, when I first started to really read as a teenager and get into history. And boy, I'm going to be wheeling back the time here to share with you youngsters out there who might be watching this video. Back in the day, before Amazon came around and the internet, and you could order books online and have them instantaneously, there was a different way of living. And I feel like I'm honored enough to have memory of that and to have grown up with a different way of living. If you were looking in a magazine, let's say, back then they had book ads, if you can believe it. They had ads where you could purchase books with like either a piece of paper cutout that you would put in the titles that you'd want, okay, with handwriting, okay. You write down the books you want, your mailing address, you'd write a handy dandy check, okay, and you'd put that in an envelope, a real envelope, put a stamp on it, okay, and you'd mail that off, and then you'd have to wait. You'd wait for weeks, but boy, the waiting was good. The waiting was juicy. And if you had placed more than one order via mail, then you knew it any day. One of these things is coming in. I've got a book arriving. Do you realize just how that just really slowed life down back in the day when it wasn't just a click away and you could have things delivered to your doorstep by drone or whatever. I mean, it was just another way of living. And one of the key ways that I started to really read and build up a library at such a young age were book clubs. And I was a master at signing up to book clubs, canceling them, signing up again. Yes, I know. I'm a good Christian lady now, and I don't do that. I don't do that. But yes, back in the day, they would advertise in magazines. Say if I was reading like a history magazine, of course, History Book Club would be a major advertiser. They would, in like a 2-page spread, they'd have a, little thumbnail, little JPEGs of, now I'm calling them JPEGs. Back in the day, we just called them pictures of books. And, it's like, join up now, get 4 books for $1 in this handy dandy tote bag, right? And then you're committed to like buy two or 3 books a year at the book club pricing. Well, I did that, and I was, and at times, I was an active member and I paid full price as well. And then I would cancel and take a break for a couple of years. Then I'd come back. So between History Book Club and Military Book Club, boy, did I amass a lot of books. Of course, they were all book club editions, which, as I grew in my love of books and then grew to love just the physical feel of a book, I soon learned that there was a difference between what these book clubs were putting out and what like a real hardcover first edition felt like. But in the last iteration of History Book Club, when they changed their model about 5 years ago, their membership model, they switched when they started charging $17.50 per book. Those are strictly first editions. There are no rip-off, cheap cardboard book club editions. So anyway, I stuck with History Book Club for so many years, and I love them, and now they're gone. They just closed up shop, which I guess is a sign of the times. They've just been, priced out, and plus I don't know if people really enjoy the waiting anymore. I kind of like it, and you didn't have to wait too long. Even with this latest History Book Club version of itself, it kind of, you'd get your books within a week or so, 10 days. But guys, there's just none left. I remember I also signed up. There was a really fun book club I enjoyed for a while. It was called the Intellectual Book Club. I think that's what it was called. And they only trafficked in heavy duty, like we're talking some university press level books. And I got some good stuff through them. They weren't long for the world either. So now it's just that Book of the Month Club. And I think they're desperate to stay above water. I don't think they're going to last long either. But they do get their branding on it and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm curious to have a conversation with you guys. What is your experience with a book club by mail? And have you been, I know several of you, I know we have talked before on this channel, and you're like, oh yeah, I love History Book Club. How do you feel about it ending, first of all? And for those of you who are, maybe you've been other, members of other book clubs, I should say. And I'm not talking about like book club reading groups. I'm talking about an actual business whose business is to send you mailers or emails showing you what this month's picks are, and then they mail them to you. So, History Book Club is no more. It was a big part of my reading life, for sure. That's how I knew about new books coming out. Before I really started to get into this as an industry. And I would get so excited to see those mailers come, I don't know. It all kind of triggered a walk down memory lane, and I just wanted to share that moment with you guys. Plus, to show you the final books. The final books, I should say, final books and last thoughts, or last books and final thoughts on book clubs. But let me know in the comments below what you think of book clubs by mail. Were you ever a member of History Book Club or Military Book Club? Are you like a Book of the Month Club member? And I would love to see them, make a comeback. Now, with the rising postal rates, that's another concern. Although I heard that media mail is not changing by much, but it's the priority stuff that is going to, I think, double or something. It's going to be something ridiculous. As if everything else on this planet and in this country is unaffordable anymore. It's just, yeah, things are bad. All right, well, let's get into the books, the final books from the History Book Club. These were my final credits. These were some books that I meant to show you at the end of last year. But the end of last year and this year, as you well know, if you follow this channel, has been kind of chaotic and horrible in many ways for me, and my family. But here we are, and let's show you the final books from History Book Club, starting with Life After Power: 7 Presidents and the Search for Purpose Beyond the White House by Jared Cohen. This is from Simon & Schuster. And this book, it came out in 2024. And let's see. Former presidents have an unusual place in American life. King George III believed that George Washington's departure after 2 terms made him, quote, the greatest character of the age, unquote. But Alexander Hamilton worried former presidents might wander among the people like ghosts. They were both right. Life After Power tells the stories of 7 former presidents from the founding to today. Each changed history. Each offered lessons about how to decide what to do in the next chapter of life. Thomas Jefferson was the first former president to accomplish great things after the White House, shaping public debates and founding the University of Virginia, a feat he included on his tombstone, while omitting his presidency. John Quincy Adams served in Congress and became a leading abolitionist, passing the torch to Abraham Lincoln. Grover Cleveland was the only president in American history to serve a non-consecutive term, until, right. William Howard Taft became, Grover was the first president, we should say now, not the only. So that's going to change. Let's see. William Howard Taft became Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Herbert Hoover shaped the modern conservative movement, led relief efforts after World War II, reorganized the executive branch, and reconciled John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon. Jimmy Carter had the longest post-presidency in American history, advancing humanitarian causes, human rights, and peace. George W. Bush made a clean break from politics, bringing back George Washington's precedent and reminding the public that the institution of the presidency is bigger than any one person. Jared Cohen explores the untold stories in the final chapters of these presidents' lives, offering a gripping and illuminating account of how they went from President of the United States one day to ordinary citizen the next. All right. So that was one of the books I wanted to use my credits on. Sounds like a great story. Yeah, I like it. And this is one I've been meaning to read. I loved this author's other book, Midnight and Chernobyl. And I know this is from last year as well. Some of you may have already read it, and I have not yet, but I plan on it. And that is Challenger, a true story of heroism and disaster on the edge of space by Adam Higginbotham. It's put out by Avid Reader Press. Nice big hearty tome. Yeah, there's lift off. Damn. On January 28th, 1986, just 73 seconds into flight, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart over the Atlantic Ocean, killing all 7 people on board. Millions of Americans witnessed the tragic deaths of the crew, which included New Hampshire schoolteacher Krista McAuliffe. Like the assassination of JFK, the Challenger disaster was a defining moment in 20th century history, one that forever changed the way America thought of itself and its optimistic view of the future. Yet the full story of what happened and why has never been told. Based on extensive archival research and meticulous original reporting, Challenger follows a handful of central protagonists, including each of the 7 members of the doomed crew, through the years leading up to the accident, and offers a detailed account of the tragedy and the investigation afterward. It's a compelling tale of ambition and ingenuity undermined by political cynicism and cost-cutting in the interests of burnishing national prestige, of hubris and heroism, and of an investigation driven by leakers and whistleblowers determined to bring the truth to light. Throughout, there are the ominous warning signs of a tragedy to come, recognized but then ignored and later hidden from the public. Higginbotham reveals the history of the shuttle program and the lives of the men and women whose stories have been overshadowed by the disaster, as well as the designers, engineers, and test pilots who struggled against the odds to get the first shuttle into space. Challenger identifies a turning point in history and brings to life an even more complex and astonishing story than we remember. So I definitely have this on my to-be-read pile, but I wanted to make this video because I've been meaning to. I didn't know it would be my last one until I got that message from the book club saying you can't get any more books here, and I had to quickly ease out my credits. But yeah, and all these books have been on my TBR. As you know, I have a lot of books to read. The next one I picked up is by Keith Lowe, who is the great author of Savage Continent. And this is Naples, 1944, The Devil's Paradise at War. This is by St. Martin's Press. Let's see here. Keith Lowe has chronicled the end of the Second World War in Europe in his award-winning book Savage Continent and the war's aftermath in the sequel, The Fear and the Freedom. In Naples, 1944, he brings readers another masterful chronicle of the terrible and often unexpected consequences of war. Even before the fall of Mussolini, Naples was a place of great contrasts, filled with palaces and slums, beloved cuisine and widespread hunger. After the Allied liberation, these contrasts made the city instantly notorious. Compared to the starving population, Allied soldiers were staggeringly wealthy. For a packet of cigarettes, even the lowest ranks could buy themselves a watch, a new suit, or a woman for the night. As the biggest port in Allied hands, Naples quickly became the center of Italy's black market and has remained so ever since. Within just a few months, the Camorra began to reestablish itself. It's like the mafia. Behind the chaos and the corruption, there was always the threat of violence. Army guns were looted and traded. Gangs of street kids fought running battles with the military police. Public buildings, booby-trapped by departing Germans, began to explode, seemingly spontaneously. Then in March 1944, like an omen, Vesuvius erupted. Naples was the first major European city to be liberated by the Allies. What they found there would set a template for the rest of Europe in the years to come. Keith Lowe's Naples, 1944 is a page-turning book about a city on the brink of chaos and a glimpse into the dark heart of post-war Italy. Kind of follows along with his other writings. I have The Fear and the Freedom, but I think that one was a Savage Continent that I have in a book club edition, which I don't care for, and I want a hardy hardcover. But yeah, lots of photos, obviously, 2 separate inserts of photos. Very interested in Italy in World War II. So this is going to be more dust flying around on the camera. Sorry about that. So I'll be looking forward to tapping into that one as well. All right. And I think this one might also be from last year. Yes. All right. I wanted to pick this one up just because, as a Christian and as a person who reads theology, excuse me while I yawn into my mouth. I'm a little tired. I picked up the Bible, A Global History by Bruce Gordon, put out by Basic Books. For Christians, the Bible is a book inspired by God. Its eternal words are transmitted across the world by fallible human hands. Following Jesus' departing instruction to go out into the world, the Bible has been a book in motion from its very beginnings. And every community it has encountered has read, heard, and seen the Bible through its own language and culture. In the Bible, Bruce Gordon tells the astounding story of the Bible's journey around the globe and across more than 2,000 years, showing how it has shaped and been shaped by changing beliefs and believers' radically different needs. The Bible has been a tool for violence and oppression, and it has expressed hopes for liberation. God speaks with one voice, but the people who receive it are scattered and divided, found in desert monasteries and Chinese house churches, in Byzantine cathedrals and Guatemalan villages. The Bible tells the story of this sacred book through the stories of its many and diverse human encounters, revealing not a static text, but a living, dynamic, cultural force. Let's see, Bruce Gordon has written a lot of other books, like Zwingli, God's Armed Prophet, a biography of Calvin's Institutes, a biography on Calvin himself. There's one on the Swiss Reformation. But let's see what kind of chapter headings we have here. Medieval worlds, Renaissance and Reformation, Science and Reason, the King James Bible, the Transatlantic Bible, the American Bible, missions worldwide, then it goes into China, Africa, global Pentecostalism. It all sounds very fascinating. It's like a good standard introduction to just the history of the book as a worldwide phenomenon, and how it was received in different cultures. Beautiful color inserts here. Fascinating. Yeah. So the Bible, A Global History by Bruce Gordon. I'm still so sad History Book Club is gone. It's sad to think these are my last books I'm going to haul on the channel and show you guys. All right. Here we go. Now, this is not a book club edition. It better not be a book club. No. Another way of knowing, besides having that little weird number on the back, is if the dust jacket does not have a price in it, then that means it's a book club edition. But this one is not. And I've been meaning to get this one. This is The Birth of the Anglo-Saxons. 3 Kings and a History of Britain at the Dawn of the Viking Age by Max Adams. And this is put out by Pegasus Books. All right. This is a brilliant, profound, and authoritative history of the golden age of the Anglo-Saxon kingdom in Britain. Nice, boisterous end paper map. I like that. It's big and bodacious. I don't need my glasses to see that map. All right. For too long, the 8th century has been a shadowland in British history. A shadowland between the death of St. Bede and the triumphs of King Alfred and the eventual unification of England. But before the victories of King Alfred against the Viking invaders, the kingdom of Mercia, spread across a broad swath of central England, was the reigning power that exercised central political authority for the first time since the Roman Empire. This authority was used to construct trading networks and markets, to develop strong economic, cultural, and political links with the continent, and to lay the foundations for a system of defense that would be invigorated and reinvented by Alfred at the end of the 9th century. 2 kings, Ethelbald and Offa, dominated the political landscape of the rising power of Mercia. During their reigns, monasteries became powerhouses of royal patronage, economic enterprise, and trade. Offa constructed his grandiose dike along the borders of the warlike Welsh kingdoms, and more subtly spread his message of political superiority through coinage bearing his image. But Ethelbald and Offa, between them, built something with an even more substantial legacy, a geography of medieval England. And these two kings engineered a set of tensions between kingship, landholding, and the church that were to play out dramatically at the dawn of the Viking Age. In this illuminating history of early medieval Britain, Max Adams reconnects the worlds of the three kings, Ethelbald, Offa, and Alfred, in an absorbing study of the landscape, society, and politics of a fascinating century of change. So yes, I love it. I'm still very interested in this period. So this will be going with my other books on Anglo-Saxon history, early Britain history, early British history, and all that kind of good stuff. All right, we're down to the final two books from the History Book Club. That is no more. And these ones are... God, this one is also from last year. Yeah, I used up my credits before. There wasn't anything I wanted from this year, from 2025. So here we go. We're closing this out. Are we ready? All right, let's do this one. So sad. So sad. This one's a beautiful decollaged book. And we've got The Eagle and the Heart. The Tragedy of Richard II and Henry IV by Helen Castor. Put out by another great book by Avid Reader Press. Nice shiny gold dust jacket. I like it. And look at that beautiful decollage, baby. Let's see. Richard of Bordeaux and Henry of Bolingbroke, cousins born just 3 months apart, were 10 years old when Richard became King of England. They were 32 when Henry deposed him and became king in his place. Now the story behind one of the strangest and most fateful events in English history, and the inspiration behind Shakespeare's most celebrated history plays, is brought to vivid life by the acclaimed author of Blood and Roses, Helen Castor. Richard had birthright on his side and a profound belief in his own God-given majesty, but beyond that he lacked all qualities of leadership. A narcissist who did not understand or accept the principles that underpinned his rule. He was neither a warrior defending his kingdom nor a lawgiver whose justice protected his people. Instead, he declared that, quote, his laws were in his own mouth. Who does this sound like? And acted accordingly. He sought to define as treason any resistance to his will and recruited a private army loyal to himself rather than the realm. History repeats. Anyway, and he intended to destroy those who tried to restrain him. It's so funny how you're reading a dust jacket blurb for a book of history, political history, how many centuries ago? A lot. And it's almost as if you're reading the day's headlines or the op-ed section of any major magazine or newspaper. All right, now we're going to look at Henry. Henry was everything Richard was not. A leader who inspired both loyalty and friendship, a soldier and a chivalric hero, dutiful, responsible, principled. After years of tension and conflict, Richard banished him and seized his vast inheritance. Richard had been crowned a king, but he had become a tyrant, and as a tyrant, ruling by arbitrary will rather than established law, he was deposed by his cousin Henry, the only possible candidate to take his place. Henry was welcomed as a liberator, a champion of the people against his predecessor's paranoid despotism. But within months, he too was facing rebellion. Men knew that a deposer could in turn be deposed, and the new king found himself buffeted by unrest and chronic ill health until he seemed a shadow of his former self, trapped by political uncertainty and troubled by these signs that God might not, after all, endorse his actions. Captivating, immersive, and highly relevant to today's times, The Eagle and the Heart is a story about what happens when a ruler prioritizes power over the interests of his own people, when a ruler demands loyalty to himself as an individual rather than duty to the established constitution, and when he seeks to reshape reality rather than concede to the force of verifiable truths. Above all, it is a story about how a nation was brought to the brink of catastrophe and disintegration, and in the end, how it was brought back. Just from this dust jacket description alone, if it does deliver these goods, I definitely want to read this sooner rather than later. I would actually like to really find time in my schedule to start digging into this sometime next month. The rest of this month is slammed. I've got book reviews due for a multiple number of places. Plus, I'm working through a buddy read. And hey, I should have said this before. Let me say it. I'll say it now. Join us for a live stream tomorrow, July 19th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 Pacific. On this channel, Bill Rutenberg and I will be having a live stream talking about what we've read recently, what we're currently reading, what we want to read. And this is a book I want to be reading sooner rather than later. The Eagle and the Heart. So let me know in the comments below if you've already read this one and what you thought of it. But that sounds like, not only is it history, good history, but lessons for today and timely. So the final book I got from my beloved History Book Club, rest in peace, is a biography of Woodrow Wilson, The Light Withdrawn by Christopher Cox. I have several Wilson biographies, but I really was intrigued by the description of this one. No spoiler alert here. I don't think he was a good president. Anyway, another Simon & Schuster title. Now, this book, I'll tell you here what the angle is on this one, and it's kind of interesting. More than a century after he dominated American politics, Woodrow Wilson still fascinates. With panoramic sweep, Woodrow Wilson, The Light Withdrawn, reassesses his life and his role in the long national struggle for racial equality and women's voting rights. The Wilson who emerges as a man superbly unsuited to the moment, when, as his presidency began in 1912, the struggle for women's voting rights in America was reaching the tipping point. The first Southern Democrat to occupy the White House since the Civil War era, Wilson brought to Washington like-minded men who quickly set to work segregating the federal government. His sympathy for Jim Crow and states' rights animated his years-long hostility to the Susan B. Anthony Amendment, which promised universal suffrage backed by federal enforcement. Women demonstrating for voting rights found themselves demonized in government propaganda, beaten and starved, while illegally imprisoned and even confined to the psychiatric ward. When, in the twilight of a second term, 2/3 of Congress stood on the threshold of passing the Anthony Amendment, Wilson abruptly switched his position. But he also supported changes to its language that would protect Jim Crow. The heroes responsible for the eventual success of the unadulterated Anthony Amendment are brought to life by Christopher Cox, an author steeped in the ways of Washington. This is a brilliant, carefully researched work that puts you at the center of one of the greatest advances in the history of American democracy. So, Woodrow Wilson. Oh, here's the other thing I want to talk about this book, which is, you know how we've been talking about, it's the habit lately on these jacket covers to colorize black and white photos of people. So when I opened up this book, I was not expecting this. Now, I think they're showing, I don't know why there's a picture of Charles Sumner in the beginning, but here's him as a young man, and they've colorized it. All these photos, like Julia Ward Howe. Wow. Look at these colorizations. I told you, as a young man, women found him extremely attractive. Charles Sumner. Look at but in color no less. I'm not going to make any comments on one of these pictures, but sorry. I don't know what's happening here. But look at this is crazy. That's fantastic. And of course, well, here's, but they colorize these pictures, so it makes them seem even more immediate. Like, I just showed a book recently about the woman who painted black and white pictures, photographs, I should say. She hand painted them, Edith Butler. This must be a trend now that even black and white photos in the inserts are getting colorized. Can you see all these? Wow. That is something else. Oh, this is this is beautiful. Look at Ida B. Wells Barnett. Look at her. Oh, that is beautiful. So that's another trend, I guess, in publishing now. With these history books, they're going to start colorizing the black and white photos, but it's kind of fun. I don't know. If it makes them seem more approachable, more real, if it makes their stories seem more relatable for you to see a picture in color, then why not? I don't think it hurts at all. We all know that they didn't have color film at certain times, but if you can imagine what the men's suit colors look like or women's dresses colors, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think it's like what you know what I mean. It's not like you're not changing a historical fact or anything. You're just kind of emphasizing, here's what their clothing, the color might have looked like. Here's what their skin might have looked like, Anyway, so Woodrow Wilson, The Light Withdrawn, Christopher Cox, and I think after this, I'm not going to get any more Wilson biographies. I have at least 4 or 5, and that's more than enough for you to gain your feeling about the man. So, all in all, this was a fine and final haul from History Book Club, a book club near and dear to my heart that and maybe I think I should have said this earlier. This is just a chatty video. I don't plan on really editing it too much. It made learning and reading both enjoyable and affordable, because when I was a kid, my parents were able to afford it, and I loved the waiting. I loved knowing I had an order coming, So there's always that fun about it. I will miss History Book Club because I planned on being a member until I kicked, I enjoy, and I felt like I was supporting the love of history and of publishing and of publishing good history books, So where does that energy come from now, I wonder? It's like there's a lot of angles to the publishing industry, and trying to understand what makes some books get published and others not. You'd like to see different avenues for people to get books, and not just from Amazon or Barnes & Noble or a storefront, but what about ordering history books through the mail, and having those. I really wish it hadn't gone away, but apparently it just wasn't an effective business model. I'm guessing they couldn't compete. With one click, you can just one click and boom, you've got an ebook ready to go. I mean, I get it, but I think there's something has been lost, is what I'm proposing. The element of anticipation, the element of holding excitement for longer than a nanosecond for a book, because now it's like a nanosecond. You're excited about it. Oh, I have it now. You know what I mean? But it's over because I already ordered it. But if you've got something coming, it's just like kind of animates you and it gets you really excited. And, I find it makes you read more as you're waiting. It kind of preps your reading for a certain book. But that's probably an old-fashioned view, considering, just how much technology has grown in my lifetime. Again, I will never forget cutting out pre-filled out form. It's just like it, name, address, and then you just write it in with ink and send a check. I used to order Louis L'Amour books that way. I used to order books that way. I used to order the introductory offer to History Book Club those ways. Would fill out the little card and send it in and then wait. But those days are over, my friend. We are living in the 21st century for good and ill. But anyway, thanks for joining me on this kind of a different type of video. Just wanted to say rest in peace, History Book Club. Thank you for all the years. Thanks for turning me on to history and connecting me for cheap and making it available to not only me but thousands and hundreds of thousands of others back in the heyday of Book Club by Mail or whatever. I think that's the official title. All right, Book Club by Mail. Well, anyway, guys, History Book Club is no more. You'll see no more books or videos on this topic, but I had to share it with you one final time. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you have anything to say about Book Club by Mail, say it in the comments below. I look forward to your comments. Thanks for watching, subscribing, liking the video. It all helps me. And until next time, guys, we'll chat soon. Bye.